Hi everybody, this is Dr. Schroder with this week's video introduction into week number 2 in our course in nursing ethics. Well, we got off to a pretty good start, I think. In week number 1, our discussion question focused on nursing workplace dilemmas, and that's kind of a real general place to start this whole discussion of uh, ethics in nursing and ethics in healthcare. All of us have run into ethical considerations and ethical issues, but maybe haven't really had the terminology or really the understanding of the ethical principles to really be able to define or discuss them in any kind of meaningful way, what they mean or how they work or how they can be resolved. And so that was really the focus of this first week's discussion question. And I saw that just about everybody in class has been able to turn it in, your personal values papers, and I appreciate everybody being able to get your paper in. One reminder, if you turn your paper in to turn it in, please also submit it also to the assignments folder. Don't worry if it shows up as being late in your assignments folder. I'm not going to count it that way. It's just that way I have a place in Sakai where I've actually got your paper, and so some verification and validation that you've actually turned your paper in Sakai. Turn it in is outside the Sakai system, so anybody coming in and looking at Sakai can see that the class is in fact participating, that everybody has turned in their assignments. Um, a little bit of a wrap up from week number 1. The only thing that I would say is I would encourage everybody to look to check in the class on multiple days each week. And you don't have to spend a lot of time in class, but if you post an initial discussion question, say on Tuesday or Wednesday, check it maybe on Thursday and Friday, and maybe on Saturday and or Sunday. Come in on multiple days of the class and kind of keep up with the conversations, and look to give feedback throughout the week. I know that all of us kind of are into a certain schedule, and that it's easy to kind of come in basically in just a couple days each week. And I'm not saying that everybody's doing that or that, it's a problem. It's just that for this particular class in particular, because discussion is so important when we're talking about ethics, keeping an ongoing discussion is really important. And so, coming in and checking on and participating in class on multiple days will help to ensure a really good discussion score done according to the rubric, but it will also help to make for a really good discussion. Um, and so the ethics issues that everybody identified were, again, they were pretty much all across the board. Some of you were case managers and discussed the issues that you have with insurance companies or lack of resources and having to deal with upset family members. And others of you work in certain departments of the hospital where you have certain ethical issues that are just inherent to your particular issue. Always think in terms of what are the ethical terms that we use. Even when we use the word like right, like patients have rights. Well, rights is something that we think about almost like as a law or a rule that we have to follow, but it's actually a ethical principle. Yet the ethical issue of what is justification. What is the just thing to do? What is the right thing to do? A right is a right, and there's actually a ethical definition that goes on with that. Same things with the terms. We talk about duty. We have a duty to take care of our patients, and we use that term offhandedly sometimes, but actually it's an important ethical principle that we do have a duty to treat everybody fairly, and fair being fairness, and again just and rights. These are all ethical terms, and so think about your discussions in terms of what are the terms that we're discussing and what are the terms that we're reading about. This week we're going to talk about the concepts of beneficence and non-malfeasance, and you have a discussion question that focuses on that. And this will also be brought up in the first of one of the three case manage one of the first of the 3 case studies that you're going to be completing in class. Please review the syllabus and review the course materials for or how to do the case study. The case studies are all included in the Fry text, and I've given some information on how to download the Fry text. Please understand that the Fry text is just a manual scan of a textbook, and I'm sorry about that, but that's just how it kind of comes up in the it's about the best that we can do for right now. And it works best if you download it to your computer and then open it in a program like Adobe Reader. And in Adobe Reader, you have the ability to rotate it from sideways to, I don't know, this way to that way. And so it's much easier to read that way, and then just scan from page to page. Some of the pages are a little fuzzy, but you should be able to get through, and there's enough that you should be able to get through all the materials. And all of the case studies are included in the Fry text. When you're writing your case study report, it is important. You should, again, this is an APA paper, so you always start with the title of your paper. Of course, you have a title page, and then you start with the title of the paper as your first heading, and you introduce the problem. And then once you introduce the problem or introduce the issue that you introduce the case study and the ethical issue inherent in the case study, then you have a section of the paper that has a separate heading where you discuss and basically give a synopsis of the case study itself. This is in your own words, and when I say in your own words, that does not mean use I statements. You do not use I statements in this section of the paper, but you will basically just give a brief couple hundred word synopsis of what the case study actually is. And then the next section is going to be a discussion of the ethical principles, where you're going to discuss how the ethical principles relate to that case study. And then the final part of the paper is your personal reflection. And the personal reflection, here you may use I statements. This is where you can say, here's what I would do. Again, it's an APA paper, so you still want to maintain a scholarly tone, but you may refer to yourself in the first person. And when you relate and say, here's what I would do in the case study, again, you are going to be discussing the ethical principles, not just here's what I would do because this is just what I would do. How would you justify your case or justify your actions from an ethical principle? How would it be ethical? Or how would your choice be the most ethical choice? And what are some ethical considerations that you took into consideration? That should all be included in that personal reflection. So you start with that discussion and the synopsis of the case study, discuss the ethical principles, and then discuss how you would act in that same situation, discussing how you would apply those ethical principles. And then, of course, a conclusion where you go back and refer back to your purpose statement from the introduction and then a reference page. Every case study will have that basic same format. So again, these are APA papers, important for you to apply those ethical principles as they're presented in all the course materials. So that's it. I look forward to having a really great week with you once again. I'm sure that we're going to have a great week of discussion. As you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I anticipate I should have the grading the papers done. The papers will be graded all by the weekend, and I'm assuming that I will probably have the forums graded by midweek, the forum discussions graded by midweek, so you have that feedback, and then the actual papers themselves will be by the end of the week. So we're getting through it. God bless you. I pray that you have a great week. I pray that all your decisions are ethical ones, and that you don't have too many dilemmas in your life. And just know that I'm praying for you and thinking of you every day. God bless. We'll see you in class.